Hey guys, Brenda here. Hey, so this is part of a multi-series on loneliness, particularly after divorce or breakup. And today I just want to share with you a story. One of the previous videos I had given you some tips on one of the best ways to deal with the loneliness, to face yourself, to deal with yourself, right? And so I'm going to get a little vulnerable, and this might be a little hard to watch for some of you, especially if any of you have had a porn addiction or if you are a victim of someone in a relationship that had a porn addiction. But as some of you might know, I share it often that my ex-husband had a porn addiction, and it was something that he was unwilling to shift. He didn't want to let go of. We saw 9+ different counselors. We did multiple different tactics. That's actually what set me on the road for this career, which I had no idea at the time. But saw multiple, we did neurofeedback, we did neuroemotional technique, we did all these unconventional things, 9 different counselors that I can remember, yada, 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 and nothing solved the issue. And the reality is that began my fascination of why. What makes people tick? Why can some people drop an addiction overnight and others cannot? And it was a study of human behavior. And one of the fallouts of that addiction that he had was for me as a woman, right? And I was raised with 3 older brothers, and I showed horses, and I was a tomboy, right? In fact, I was just joking with an office mate that I have things in my office. I've got like a makeup kit in the same bin as I have a drill, right? Where it's just this reality of a multifaceted woman, right? Where I can get dressed up, and you can also play down and do boy things and roll your sleeves up and get dirty at the same time. But what happened with this environment that I was in, being raised with the horses is I remember in high school dressing like a boy, right? Like I would wear button-up long sleeve t-shirts. Like what girl does that? But I did. And it just was part of kind of the horse in my, it was just part of me and what I was raised with. My mom wasn't a girly girl, so I didn't have any of that influence. And then I got into this marriage, and I was also raised in a legalistic religion where modesty was a thing. Like you really had to be modest. It was critical. You were in sin if you weren't. And it taught me to not embrace my beauty and not embrace who I was. And then you couple that now with a 14-year-long marriage where someone is addicted to pornography and constantly looking at other women, constantly desiring computer women instead of his own wife, right? And it really tore me down. And so one of the best recovery moments that I had was when I had to face those feelings. I had to face that loneliness in my soul of, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. At one point he said to me he would rather have me heavier so my boobs were bigger, right? And so I wasn't enough the way that I was. And it was really challenging. And that left me unworthy and empty and lonely and all those things. So in light of the tips that I gave you on the previous video of taking a vacation by yourself to address your stuff, specifically in mind, your motivation for the vacation is to address your stuff. And what is it that's cropping up for you and what's a major issue? And so I took a week-plus long trip to Maui, and I lived on that beach. My family had a condo there, and I literally just stayed in the condo to sleep. And I was out on that beach when the sun came up. I stayed on that beach apart from grabbing food, going to the bathroom, whatever. And it was like my wrestling with God moment. It was my Jacob moment, right? Where I sat on that beach and I was mad. I was angry because I was like, I did everything you said, God. Why did this marriage fall apart? This was a good 6 months after the divorce was over, right? So some time had passed, but I was still angry, and I was frustrated because I felt like I had done everything I could. I had cleaned up or tried to my best. I mean, we're never done, but tried to clean up all my mom and dad issues and my baggage that I brought into the marriage and my lack of my communication. Man, I could verbally annihilate like a boss. I learned that one from my mother. And I tried to clean all that up, and it still didn't work, and it still didn't solve the issue. And he still chose that. And so back to the wrestle of me and my identity, I didn't feel beautiful. I felt ashamed of my body. I would hide myself from other men. That was another trigger point where if I would see men looking at me, it would just trigger all of this pornography issue with my ex. It really bothered me. And because I kept thinking, I don't want you to go home and do what my ex did when he would look at other women, right? And so I would try to hide myself in a lot of ways. I would try to downplay my femininity, my beauty, and all of that. And so toward the end of the vacation, I have my wrestle moment. You know, I'm thinking that I'm going to give God the 1-2, right, and tell him how it is. And of course, I walked away with the injured hip as usual. But it was toward the end of the vacation, and I went into Lahaina, and I was walking through town. And at this time, mind you, I had a rockin' body. I had been working out. I was smoking. I don't think ever. I think I skipped looking that good ever. Right in high school, I just didn't. I was in my bikini that I wore for the very first time in 14 years. I hadn't worn a bikini in 14 years because I had come full circle through these 7 days there, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to own this. And it was uncomfortable as hell. Let me just be honest. I mean, I was super uncomfortable, but I was trying to embrace myself, okay? And I mean, I'm in my cover up, but I'm walking through town and I'm doing all these fun things. And I always avoided art museums while I was with my ex. This is what happens when you start to try to control people, where you would avoid places or locations or things with that person because it was too painful to watch them desiring someone else. So you just avoided it. Or I would always walk in front of them at the grocery store. And these are all the little subconscious things that I was doing to control the level of pain that I had to experience without even realizing it. So I didn't realize I hadn't been in an art gallery for years and years. And I'm no artist, I'm not creative, like whatever, but I really do value and appreciate other people's ability to be artistic. So I'm walking through and I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull over and I'm going to, there's like 3 or 4 of them. And I'm going to go through these. And I did. And the reason I avoided them is, generally speaking, there are a lot of naked women pictures and naked women sculptures and all these things that I didn't want to experience with my ex. So like I said, I avoided it. Couple that with the shame that I felt about my body issues because of that treatment that we had had for so long. I just avoided it like the plague. Okay. So here I am going through these. I'm really embracing it. It's uncomfortable, but I'm in it and I've committed to do it. And I walk into, art galleries have little rooms, like they all have their separate little rooms. And I walk into this one room. And sure enough, I look up and about eye level on the shelf, there is a bronze sculpture, almost life-size, not quite, of this gorgeous naked woman. And I immediately, shame is triggered, unworthiness, loneliness, all of it's triggered all over again. And I literally tried to turn around and walk out of the room. And there was this young man standing in the doorway. And he had his hands in his pockets. And it still gets me emotional to this day. He had his hands in his pockets and he was looking at this woman. And he just looked at her like he was looking at the Grand Canyon. It wasn't a lustful look. It wasn't a dirty. He was appreciating her beauty. And he says, "Isn't she beautiful?" And I just looked at him for a minute because I was like, what the hell? I was thinking, like, who is this kid? It was such a pure statement from him. I didn't get it. I was really trying to wrap my head around what he just said and his genuine and authenticity. His genuineness and his authenticity that he had about it, right? It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't creepy, it wasn't gross, it wasn't lustful, it wasn't anything. And I looked back at her and I was like, holy crap, she's beautiful. She's absolutely beautiful. And that was the moment, that was a pivotal moment for me in embracing my beauty and who I was and stepping into my femininity and being okay with who I was and accepting my body for what it is. And so it was absolutely a pinnacle moment in my confidence and owning who I was and being empowered in who I was created to be, right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like everything that's shifted from there on out was it just radically changed the rest of my life, right? The way that I engage with people, the way that I talk with people, and on and on and on. But this is just my story. Now, I make my clients, when I'm working with them, go on a vacation by themselves too, to address their stuff, because you just never know what's going to come up. If you would have told me that this is the outcome that would have happened from that vacation by myself when I left, I would have thought, no, not a chance. Like this isn't even on the radar. I didn't even think it was as big of a deal as it was. I had no clue until I'm in a tropical location with women half naked everywhere and men and seeing all of this. I had no idea how big this issue had gotten for me. So, it's real raw, real vulnerable, but I really want to share that experience with you because this is a value that you can get from deciding to take that step and step into your fear, feel to heal, address what you need to address, go on that vacation. The world will wait, especially as executives and high achievers. We think we can't walk away from this. I was still doing work from there, trying to get things accomplished. But I had to do it. And it was one of the best decisions that I ever made. So that's why I say one of the best things you can do is to go on vacation by yourself. So that is all for now today, but I just want, if you like the content, make sure you like the video below, subscribe so you get the notifications, and click that little bell, right? Click the bell so you get notified when we do new videos, and we will see you on the other side.